Hello and welcome to the Candid Cash Flow Podcast, episode 34. I'm your host, Ava Fales. How to publish your poetry. Ava has finally lost her mind. No, I assure you I'm here and intact. Sometimes when I set out to write a new episode of the Candid Cash Flow podcast and I open up my notebook of ideas, I just totally deviate and pull something out of left field. This is one of those times. Over this last weekend, I spent quite a bit of time creating a place for my poetry on my website. I hope it doesn't seem out of place. What you may not know about me is that my background is in art. It's what I found out that I was good at first. I actually studied graphic design in college. What I found out is that I'm not so great when I'm disconnected from the actual art in order to create it. I am decent with a pencil to paper, but find creating digital art difficult to master. Needless to say, I made a poor graphic designer. I'm a little better at it now, but still just okay. Then I started writing poetry. I just started. I didn't try to find out how to write poetry for beginners or how to self-publish a poetry book. I just started, and I was pleasantly surprised by the genre. Poetry, as with all art, is difficult to monetize. But for those wondering how poets can make money, there is hope, so stay tuned. This episode is sponsored by Grammarly. Are you plagued by typos? I know I am. I always feel stupid when I spot a simple and obvious mistake. Maybe grammar isn't exactly your forte, but weaving together words is. With Grammarly, leave your mistakes behind. I type with confidence, knowing each mistake can be corrected with one click. Try out Grammarly today and make your typos a thing of the past. If you spent any time at all in writing communities, then you've probably heard that there's no money in poetry. There's a famous quote by Robert Graves that says, "There's no money in poetry, but there's no poetry in money either." It's so true. When I first started writing poetry regularly in the mid to late 90s, I was still fresh on the idea that I could be anything that I set my mind to, blah, blah, blah. I thought I was going to be famous. It wasn't something that I strived for, and I certainly had no confidence in myself to become a famous poet. I just thought it was possible. I remember I took my best piece, now among the worst of the worst, and submitted it to a poetry journal thing, I think through like poetry.com back in the day. It got published in one of those anthology scam books. They didn't even send out a free copy of the book. It was literally a scam. They made their money by publishing your poem and then selling all of the poets the book. The price was so outrageous I never even bothered to buy it, so I guess there's a poem by me in some obscure anthology book out there somewhere. I guess like with graphic design, I thought I was going to turn my art into a business, but I had no idea what I was doing. So has gone my life. My first piece of advice, if you want to earn money writing poems, is to get a relevant mentor. I cannot explain to you the benefits of a mentor, but I certainly can explain the directionless wandering you will do without one. Do as I say, not as I do. There are a few young poets out there doing quite well publishing poetry. The first one that comes to mind is Shane Coizon. He's a Canadian poet who found fame when his spoken word piece to this day went viral. He turned that momentum into albums, videos, books, and more. Aaron Hansen is one of the most prolific poets I know. Other than that, I know absolutely nothing about her. She writes a lot, shares a lot, and self-publishes poetry books. Lastly, I bring you Clementine von Radix. Her Mouthful of Forevers quickly became one of my favorite poems. She is an American poet who, like Shane Koizon, has spun her brand of spoken words into a business. She does events and also sells her books. So you see, if you treat your poetry like a business, you can earn money writing poems. Find someone who does or has done what you want to do and follow them. Try to duplicate their success. Get a relevant mentor. Go now and grab the show notes, my friends. You'll want all the links and bonuses included there. Grab them at heyoava.com/episode 34. So, how do you write poetry if you're a beginner? I'm sure there are many poetry tutorials online. I never looked for any, not because I think I'm such a great poet, but because my methods usually worked for me. My poems usually stem from a thought or phrase that I build upon to develop the feeling further. If I'm feeling a bit blocked, I like to use magnetic poetry to help me work past it. Magnetic poetry was invented by Dave Chappelle. When he was suffering from a bit of writer's block, he printed out some words and cut them apart. Then he got to work arranging them into phrases and poems. He noticed the scraps of paper kind of wanted to fly around, so he added a sheet of magnet before cutting them apart, and Magpo was born. I've downloaded all of the word lists for the magnetic poetry products available from Dave. There are all kinds of different themed kits of words like apocalypse, bacon poet, pirate, geek, and so many more. There are more than 110 PDFs in the zip file of all the themes. Grab the show notes and get the link out of the bonus section at heyoava.com/episode 34. Other than just beginning with a word or a phrase, the best way to get good at poetry is to practice. As I said, I started in the 90s, and when I go back and read my work from then, it makes me nauseous. Of course, I thought they were good then. I assure you they were not. No, you can't read them. But you can read some of my newer stuff, and if you get my book, some of my older stuff is in there. I just added some of my poetry to my website, so you can check it out at heyoava.com/poetry. This will be an ongoing project. Simply decide what you want your approach to your poetry to be and go with it. So I've got 5 ways for you to earn money writing poems. I recently researched and revisited this topic because I was genuinely interested in knowing how I might make money writing poems. I care nothing for fame, and I'm not looking to create some great fortune. I simply want to share my words. If I can get paid a little in the process, I'm always about that. Believe it or not, you can make money writing poems in this day and age. The internet, as always, is a big help in spreading the word around and marketing your content. So let's get to this list. Number 1 is greeting cards. First, and maybe most obvious, would be the greeting card industry. There's a multitude of greeting card companies that accept submissions, including recognized names such as Hallmark and American Greetings. If you're looking for a get-rich-quick scheme or to get rich at all, this probably isn't the avenue you want to take. However, I did find an article while researching for this episode saying that greeting card writers make up to $50,000 per year. That's certainly nothing to sneeze at. Get links to the many resources containing links for submitting your greeting card copy in the show notes. There will be a huge bonus section this week, so don't miss out. heyoava.com/episode 34. Number 2, songwriting. Songs are merely poetry set to music. If you have a knack for rhythm and rhyme, you'll probably make a very fine songwriter, even if you're not musically inclined. A staggering number of famous crooners don't write their own music, from Elvis Presley to Beyonce. Ghostwriters can write a lot more things than just books. Expand your horizons. Links, show notes. Number 3, printables. Have you ever noticed how quotable poetry can be? You can pull a few words or phrases and make an amazing statement. You do know where you should put all of your amazing statements, right? On t-shirts, of course. We talked about that a little bit in episode 16 of the Candid Cash Flow podcast, and I guarantee you we will be revisiting it soon. The myriad of printables doesn't stop with t-shirts. You can print your words on any number of great products mentioned in that episode. One of my favorites outside of Amazon merch is Redbubble. Create products with your words and sell them on any number of platforms, including Etsy. It's just a matter of what you create and how you want to share it. Number 4, poet for hire. If you can create poetry on the fly and you can channel the feelings of others enough to write poems for them, that's an option as well. You can find people who might want to hire you via Fiverr. I've seen a lot stranger things on that platform. I recently came across an article in Fast Company talking about this writing trio who got a few vintage typewriters, some blank index cards, and commenced to make $225 per hour writing haikus at an event. So they were writing them on the fly for passersby at an event for free, but the event itself had hired them at $225 per hour to be there. They're what I would call unicorns. To be fair, I stole this term from Kelly Roberts of Kelly Publish. Anyway, to put it in my own words, they are exceptions to the rule. However, it's that kind of out-of-the-box thinking that creates unicorns. Number 5, how to publish your poetry. Self-publish it. I couldn't just throw this in with number 3, the type of print-on-demand stuff, because self-publishing is my gig, man. In fact, I just released my first book of poetry this year called Pens of Blood. Of course, self-publishing doesn't have to entail books. I'm also in the process of publishing some of my work on my website, as I mentioned previously. Back in the day, I actually self-published a volume of my poetry for my family as gifts on my home printer. Self-publishing can entail publishing your work on any number of platforms. So, is there any money in poetry? Absolutely. Will you get rich? Probably not. But hey, don't let me limit your horizons. You never know what you can do until you try. I've basically turned my poetry into one of multiple income streams. If you're a regular listener here at the Candid Cash Flow podcast, then you know the key to online success is creating multiple income streams. I'm currently building it up, so I've added it to my website and I've created images for Instagram as well. I'll be looking to see where else I can share my words. I recently added several apps to my smartphone that are poetry related. Where are you sharing yours? Leave me a comment, tell me all about it. That's it for this episode of the Candid Cash Flow podcast. I know this was a step away from the norm, and I have a lot more to share on this topic if you're interested. Let me know your thoughts at heyoava.com/soundoff. It means so much to me to pull up my stats each week and see that you stop by to listen. The only thing better would be to hear from you, so don't hesitate to give your feedback. You can be featured in a future episode. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope you will consider subscribing in your favorite app at heyoava.com/candidcashflow. If this didn't really trip your trigger, check out our archives at heyoava.com/candidarchives to see the other great money-making opportunities we've covered on the show. Don't forget to grab your copy of the show notes so you get all of the links and bonuses. That's heyoava.com/episode 34. Also, you can get the first 10 episodes in one PDF at heyoava.com/first10 or the next 10 at heyoava.com/next10. Replace the episode number in any show notes URL to view the show notes for that episode. Remember, we release a new episode each when? That's right, Wednesday. Until next time, turning your passion into cash flow.